Hello guys, today I will talk about solid principles in Angular, like how you can implement those solid principles in your Angular project. So as we know, means this is a concept of object-oriented programming. So here basically these principles basically tell like how you can refactor your code, how you can optimize your code. So these are the solid principles that we have. So if I show you what are these solid, what this solid represent. So solid is basically stands for single responsibility principle, O stands for open close principle, L stands for Liskov substitution principle, I stands for interface segregation principle, and D stands for dependency inversion principle. So these principles are very helpful if you are working on some complex project. If you started your career, so these principles, if you keep in mind, then you will write a better code. The performance, and all things will be good. So let's see what this principle represents. What are these object means? These are basically comes under the object oriented programming. So yeah, let's see what these principles are. So let's talk about the first principle, which is single responsibility. So yeah, so the what is the idea behind this single responsibility? So general idea with this principle is that each class should have one responsibility in an Angular context, whether that class is a component, directive, pipe, service, or anything else. It should have one responsibility. So what it means is basically, suppose we are creating any to do application, and in the to do, as we know, there are different features we will add, like basic functionality we will add, like we will add load to do, create to do, and delete and edit. So these are different things we will add in our to do application. So our first task is determining what the responsibility and how we can define that responsibility in which service, how we divide our code. So here, so as I told you, like load, create, delete, edit, like we perform the CRUD operations. So how you can create the service, how you can divide all those things. So means currently we have four responsibilities. So how you can divide all those things, how you can manage the data related to dos. So yeah, so for this to manage the data related to dos, what you can do, you can create a to do service for that. And to do service, like here in the to do service we can add your functions, like add, delete, all those functions. And we also have the setting service. So with the setting service, we will handle, like if something is needed or not. So in the setting service we will add that different responsibility. So uh, so here, yeah, means we can create a single service here, and we can divide the things accordingly. So now let's talk about another principle. So here we will not create multiple services, we create a single service, and we will write out all code here. So next is open closed principles. With what is that principle? So this principle states the entity should be open for extension but closed for modification. In other words, where creating new features, we should incorporate, extend, build on top of existing entities, not modify those existing entities. So to understand it better, this open close principle, let me give you an example. Suppose we have a button component, and we want the button in different components with the different colors. So what approach you will use? Initially, what you do, you will create a input emitter for that, and you pass the color from that, and in the you and so you will pass the button the color from each component that you want to modify it. So it is not a good way. Like if you want to modify an other thing, then it will be hard to change. So instead of passing it through the input emitter, what you can do, you can create a directive for that, and change the appearance with the directive. So wherever the button is added, it automatically changes the color. So with the directive you can change the color. Like in the directive we have just passed the emitter, like we need blue color, red color. So accordingly it will change the color, and we can set the default color also in the directive. So this is all about the open and closed principle. So basically it extend the button functionality, and yeah, means you can do the extension like this. And let's talk about another thing, another principle, which is Liskov substitution principle. So basic idea is that subclasses should be open to replace a base class, and the program should still function. So with OOP we can extend classes, so extend other component if needed, if planning to use some code in another special component. A subclass should be able to replace its base class without the program breaking. So let's see, what we are talking about here is, suppose we have created a class, and what we have done, like we extended that class button component, class button, like we want to modify it, class button like spatial. Let me just add it one thing here, class spatial. If I want to extend that class, we will create a spatial button component, and we are extending, we are like we want to use the feature of that button component class. So what it states is basically, so we should be able to use our special button component class in place of button component, and everything will still function. So means our special button, our special button component then do all the things that the button component did, and because we have extended that class. So yeah, means here it there is the role of the inheritance. So means you can use that inheritance feature in your Angular project. It is basic of object oriented programming, and you can reuse your parent class. Like we can say it is a base class. So if you see here, if you're taking the reference of all those things, so it is a base class and it is a subclass, and program should still function. So we have some properties functions in the button component, and we can extend it, like we can create more functions in this class because it is needed in this. So yeah, you can create basic things here, and you can modify it, you can extend it later also by extending the class. So let's talk about another principle that we have. And here remember, you need to use super keyword also if you are implementing it. Like in the constructor you need to add the super, so that you can reuse the methods properties from of the other class. So here I already mentioned about the extend keyword. A subclass should be able to replace its base class without the program breaking. Yeah, let's move to the another principle. What we have interface segregation principle. So what it states is basically the interface segregation basically states that client should not be forced to depend upon interface that they do not use. Entities should not have to depend upon interface that they do not need. Make common interface, we need to extend the interface. So here what we have done, we have extended the class. Now we have, as we know, uh, in the angle, like in the TypeScript, we can create interfaces. So if you create interface, like suppose you have created interface like article, and you have multiple properties inside that interface, like id, and what we have, title. So yeah, there are different properties we can add, like xyz. So there are many properties that we added here. So suppose at some place we need the few properties, and other place we do not need that properties. Like we have the article. In the article, we need something like ID, title, summary, author. Like there are few properties we needed. So yeah, so here what we can do, we can divide the interface here, because like, so suppose here we have created 10 properties with the article, and in some place it does not needed. So what you can do, you can break that interface, and if it is needed at some place, so what you can do, you can extend the interface. Like suppose you can create another interface from that from that previous interface. So suppose we have article details, and like you here you can extend it, extends article. So just keep the main properties there, the keep common properties there, and add it at other place. Article. Okay, the spelling is, so suppose, so now instead of 10 properties, just add 5 properties here, and just extend this. You can use that properties, and you can extend it more. Content string. So here you can add more properties to it. Content, date published, and keep that some properties there. So this segregation is very important here. So here what I have done, not be forced to depend upon interface that they do not use. So there means this, because the properties are not useful to other place, so that is why you just need to remove the properties and make common interface. If needed, extend the interface. So last principle is dependency inversion. What this dependency injection principle is. So this principle states depend upon instruction abstraction, not concretions. So we should depend on abstractions, not specific implementations. So let's take an example of the API service. So what it states is, like if, like in the API service, what we generally we do, we created the different services like get, post, put, delete. So here what you can do, you can create the abstract functions there, like we must have these functions, and we implement those functions. Means we create the abstract class there, and we implement those function in the different service, like what the actual implementation, what these functions will do. So it is a better way to write the code to maintain the things. So in all perspective, it's very good. And means this is example of the API service that I have given you. Like we can create abstract class, and we can implement it in the different service. Suppose we created a class API service, and we implement that, like base service we created, and you can implement that base service. Means we have the implement keyword also here. So if I show you the example, suppose we have created a service called abstract, right? Abstract class. So we have created a base service. Okay. So in this we have few functions, few methods we have created. And these are just for declaration, like abstract, get, post. There are multiple functions that you can create. And what you can do here, you can you can write the actual code in our different service. So it is very good way to maintain the like we have the implement keyword, we have implements. So with that you can use that base service and you can implement. So you have written the get. Okay, so here you can write the actual implementation here. And so this is a one example. So in Angular you must aware of the use class, there are different properties with the service. So you can use that also, it also achieve the same thing, the dependency inversion. So these are yeah, these are very important things to learn. And it these basically improve your application structure. And these are very necessary. And yeah, you can take an example and implement it. So these are the solid principles that we have. Yeah, thanks guys for watching.